everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day. Saturday, December the 23rd, race number 10 at Gulfstream Park. It's the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector Stakes at 7/8 of a mile. Let's take a look at this field. We've got last year's winner. The number 9, Sibelius, is back to defend his crown. And after winning the Mr. Prospector last year, he used it as a stepping stone to win a stake at Tampa Bay Downs and then grabbed the Dubai Golden Shaheen. Now, he hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle since then, Mike, but he seems like a real strong fit in this group.
Yeah, I think he is too. It's all about whether he gets back to his good race here, Dan. I guess when he won this race last year, he was in great form at that time. Is he in that same kind of form this year? It kind of doesn't seem like it. A very light campaign so far as a 5-year-old. Can he make the lead this time?
That's a major question. Now, he didn't necessarily need the lead when he won this race last year. He sat second, and of course, he rallied up a gold rail to win the Dubai Golden Shaheen, but he's quick. As the Timeform US pace projector shows us, he's expected to make the lead. I'm not sure he's as quick as Hurricane J, Mike, and I'm not sure if they want to find out if they're as quick as Hurricane J. I think Hurricane J makes the lead. I think Sibelius tries to opt for the same trip as last year.
I kind of looked at it the same way. I thought you might see Hurricane J come out of there running and try to make the lead. That's okay for Sibelius, though. He doesn't need the lead to win, and he's perfectly drawn for a tracking trip.
Number 1 is Great Navigator. This horse has shown some ability in his career. He's fairly lightly raced. It's possible we've yet to see his best. He's a horse bred in New Jersey that just ran off and hid from a field going 2 turns at Monmouth. But I like him around 1 turn, especially at 7 furlongs. Here's his most recent race. And look at the competition he was in against. Cody's Wish. Superstar, of course, came back to win the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile with a 107 buyer. Great Navigator showed some speed in this race from the rail. They weren't going very fast, but he finished evenly behind the 2 favorites. The problem is, other than the 2 favorites in this race, you got to finish third.
Yeah, exactly. And he did his best here with a really good trip because, as you've already pointed out, this pace wasn't fast. And he just sort of kept right up there. He's just no match for the 1-2 finishers. Settles for a clear third. Another good performance, though. Nothing but good performances on this 3-year-old's card. I think he needs to take a step forward here, but I won't be surprised if he doesn't.
Number 2 is How Be It. This guy earned a graded stakes placing way back in 2020. He's been a hard hitter around for a while in these high-level optional claiming races. Last time out at Churchill Downs, sort of got up for third, but he missed the break, and I think that really hurt him. I don't mind him getting to a 1-turn mile, although I think it's about stretching his limitations.
I mean, we'll see how he does here. He's 0 for 4 so far in his career, going 7 furlongs. The flip side of that is his two of the best races he's ever run are going 6.5 furlongs. So it's not like he's a short sprint specialist. I think he's fine over this distance. The real issue with him recently, Dan, is you can see that his form is sort of tailed off in his most recent starts, and you can sort of see that coming. He doesn't get out of the gate well anymore, and it's been a big issue for him. If he can break well in this race and get the kind of trip that he's used to getting when he runs his really good races, he can beat this field. He's got plenty of races that are good enough.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, not only during that graded stakes placing, he pulled off a nice win in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship in 2022. It's in him. It's always about the break, as Mike mentioned. He's got to get away from the gate. If he does, I think the 7's okay. I think a mile's a little far, but 7 might be just fine for How Be It. Scaramouche is up next, the number 3. And this is a guy that's run some solid races early in his career. Like Sibelius, though, you might want to question his recent form.
Yeah, I mean, he just hasn't run one of his good races recently, and there's been a long layoff involved this year, so maybe he's just finally racing him back into shape. He won 6 of his first 9, capped off with the Gallant Bob, a grade 2 with a 94 buyer. I mean, and then he ran really well in his next start after that in that Mahoning Valley race that comes up strong every year now. He ran well in that race. So his form's a little suspect right now, but this horse still has some upside, Dan. He could get the right trip in this race.
And he was in against a pretty tough field in New York last time out, and he actually finished ahead of a horse that came back to win an allowance at Aqueduct with an 88 buyer speed figure. The number 4 is Win From Within. He's one of the more fascinating horses in the race because he's making his first start off the claim, and they dipped in and took him for a whopping $150,000. And looking at his form, if he's thinking, okay, they're going to run him on the turf at Tampa Bay. He's a stakes winner on the turf. He's graded stakes placed on that surface. You think it's a decent, interesting claim. Now they're going to run him on dirt for the first time since this race. In the spring of 2022 at Tampa Bay Downs, going the 7 furlong distance, he shows a lot of grit and determination to win, Mike. He beat 4 next out winners. Maybe they think he's a dirt horse all along, $150,000 claim and doing something completely different.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this move. Then he runs well here. It's a live race, not a fast race, but it's a live race, and he gets the job done. And they go right back to turf with him after that. To me, the most interesting thing about him is that he's off the claim for Bill Morey, who just he's having a great 2023. All he does is send live horses out there. So if he thinks he's a dirt horse now, maybe that's all you need, because he should be a fair price in this race.
Hurricane J, a 3-year-old with only 6 starts under his girth. He has a lot of upside. And he returned from a lengthy layoff, perhaps as a new horse. New barn, going 6.5 at Gulfstream. He went right to the front. He went a legitimate second quarter mile, Mike. What was it, 22 flat? And he just keeps right on rolling along. It looked like for a second they were going to swamp him at the 3/16. Hurricane J's got plenty left.
Yeah, I like the way he finishes it off too. He did get loose on the lead in this race, but he went fast. I mean, he got loose on the lead because he went fast, and he just made this whole field chase him around the track, and then they just couldn't get to him through the stretch. It was certainly a step in the right direction for this horse. I think he's maybe a little dangerous on the lead in this race, Dan, but I would wait and see how they bet him. I don't think I would take this horse at any kind of short price.
German of Kona is the 6, won a stake at Gulfstream last year by disqualification. That was the Mucho Macho Man. He then won a stake over the synthetic at Presque Isle Down. So he does have some races, and maybe he's just slowly getting back to his form. Here's his most recent start. This is his 3rd start since they tried him on grass in the Manila at Gulfstream on November the 11th. He's going to rally to finish 3rd. One of the also-rans in here would come back to win a $25,000 starter with an 86. This horse might get some pace. I don't mind him at 7.
Yeah, I actually feel like he's probably better sprinting than he is going longer, so I don't mind him at this distance either. He runs pretty well in here, but he got a great trip up the inside. I mean, he never left the rail in here, and he never had a straw in his path, and he was only 3rd best.
Gilmore, the number 7, I think is a very dangerous contender, especially if he gets some pace, because to me, I think he's a one-run closer, a late-running sprinter. And they tried him in the Pennsylvania Derby last time out. It was just too much for him. He tried an in-out trip. Those horses are too much, and 1 1/8 is too much. I know he went out of the chute 2 starts back, but that was an off-the-turf race where I just think he was better than those horses at odds on. He's going to get some pace. I like the way he finished up in the Woody Stevens and the Pat Day Mile earlier this year. I think he's going to get a setup. I think he'll be running late, and I trust Brendan Walsh off layoffs.
I agree with all that stuff. I kind of look at this race and felt like you could argue that he's the horse to beat in here, even though he's a 3-year-old. I think he's getting back to doing what he really wants to do now. You know, 1-turn race. You know, I always have to remind myself to you know, you don't really want closers at Gulfstream Park sprinting, and he's probably going to be closing in here. But I think his good race with a setup could be good enough.
Long Range Toddy, the number 8, he's a millionaire. He won a slower division of the Rebel Stakes, a graded stake on the Derby Trail back in 2019. It took him over 4 years to get back to the winner's circle. He's 2 for 2 since being switched over to the Barboza barn, including this win during the summer. And in this race, though, look at the fractions. A horse like Long Range Toddy, I know he doesn't win a lot of races. He got away with a 24-second opening quarter, and then he got loose on the backstretch. He was strong to hold off, and he beat a pretty solid field.
Yeah, I mean, the good news for him is he did get loose in here and take advantage, but he doesn't need the lead to be effective. He probably won't make the lead here. I don't know. His last 2 races are good, and even though he hadn't won a race in a million years before this trainer took over, I mean, he was holding his own in a bunch of stakes races. It's not like he's a total bum.
And the horse that he held off last time out came back to do some good things. Won a race at Gulfstream with a 92 buyer, was second in a restricted stake after that with a 94. Sibelius is up next, and really you just have to look at his PPs. You know he's a live horse. He won this race last year. Of course, he won the Golden Shaheen, but as Mike said in the open, where is Sibelius now from a form standpoint? They came back. They ran him in the Aristides. He ran into Gunite that day. Gunite's one of the best sprinters in the country now, retired. They ran him in the Bing Crosby. That's a race I was a little bit more disappointed in with Sibelius. But last time out in the Phoenix, they used him to get the lead. He got involved in a speed duel with another horse that just ended up behind him, and he just didn't seem to fire his best shot. But from a class standpoint, this is a good fit. He's going to be right there when they turn for home.
It's the right spot to run him in here. He's another horse who, you know, just feels like if he still has that race in him that he was running this time last year, if he still has that kind of race in him, he'll probably win here. I've been a little disappointed in his recent races. I don't think it's that hard to make excuses for them. However, he drew perfectly for this race.
It drew perfectly, and again, the class relief is there. He lost last time out behind Hoist the Gold, a horse who just recently won the Cigar Mile. The runner-up was third in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, so it's a big class drop. Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing World YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for the Mr. Prospector. I think Sibelius can go back-to-back and belly-to-belly, breaking from this outside post, sits off the 5, attacks turning for home. I like where you're going with the old backclasser, howbeit, Mike, maybe getting a little bit of pace. All he's got to do is get out of the gate.
Yeah, I'm just hoping he can show up with his good race. He's got to get out of the gate first. Maybe he gets some pace to attack, though. I think he's better than he looks on paper. He just needs to run his good race. Second out for Bill Murray this time.
2791 for Mike, 9178 for me. Good edition of the Mr. Prospector at Gulfstream on Saturday. Best of luck.